everybody. It's Howard and Mergoddess. So we're going to keep this one short, right? Because we all got stuff to do. We got holidays coming up. Are you traveling anywhere?
No, I'm not traveling anywhere. I'm actually doing Thanksgiving with Laura.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah.
That'll be a big delicious full table.
It will. I'm excited for all the
Uh,
good things it will be.
Awesome. So I noticed that you had a really good swim.
I did. I had several really good swims. I had five really good swims out of six swims.
Hmm. So if it was me, I would be going like, "Oh, I had such a shitty swim." And then you'd be asking me questions, and then we would uncover the fact that five of them were awesome. So,
Right.
so I love your perspective. Tell us about them.
So the really so I started the 1500 was I haven't really been training for a 1500, which is a mile swim. It's like 60 lengths of the pool. And I mean, I like my blog post basically that I posted on Sick to Fit was about just like trusting my training. Like I've been doing a lot of training, things hurt and I just went in there to have fun. And so one thing that I always do is like I try to like go out really, really fast, and this time my coach was like, take it really slow. So I had to be okay with this girl being a body length ahead of me and being like, yeah, like this is totally cool. And so then once the sixth lap came, I took off and I felt like a Katie Ledecky. Like, I mean, by the 59th lap, people were cheering, like whistling, like it was just like this really fun transition of how like the girl was like thought that she would be winning, and then like I just like came out of nowhere and almost lapped her. Like I mean I was almost lapping how much distance I from being behind, and then catching up. So
Well,
that was like
congratulations.
and I cut like 2 minutes and 15 seconds on my time. So that was like a really, really like that was like the icing on the cake swim for me. Then I did the 200 IM, which I dropped like a second for, and that was just like I've been working on my weaker strokes, so that was a really good.
What's I am?
IM is butterfly, backstroke, breaststroke, and freestyle. So the 200 IM, you're doing two lengths of
Uh,
each stroke.
okay.
So for me, like I mostly swim butterfly and freestyle, and that's what I've been working on. But recently, my coach feels like I could be a really good IMer, so I've been working on breaststroke and backstroke, and they paid off because I swam those strokes and my dominant strokes well, and so it gave me a whole second off after swimming that really great mile swim, because like my body was like, okay. And like one thing I really like is having beet juice like at my races. Like I feel like it really helps me. So I was drinking that in between and having like, and I do oatmeal as a standard thing that I do just to make sure I have like really good, like nutrient dense foods in me so that I can go for a really long time, which that did well. So then the next event was going to be like sprinting. So I had to like turn off my distance and actually like start out really fast and continue to go really fast. So I cut like a 0.40 on that, which I mean, my coach wished that I could have cut more, but he was like, you did just do a 1500. So this is okay, compared to that. And then I swam the 100 free, which is four lengths of freestyle, and I cut 3 seconds on that. And then I did the 100 fly, which didn't cut any time. And I noticed like I had some doubt, like I was just starting to feel really tired. I was kind of in my emotions. And so I saw how that manifested for me, and I was like, okay. And so then I was like, I'm not going to let my last event, which was 16 lengths of the pool, I wasn't going to let that one take me down. So I cut like 8 seconds in that one. So then I finished the race with like a really great time and data to see how me and my coach are working together and how like we're knowing each other a little more. So we're able, because this is like the most I've dropped in a really long time. So it was exciting to to really have that happen and then
Uh-huh.
like know to that I'm doing everything great and to continue training and all those things. So,
All right. Well, one phrase that just popped to me was like, trust your training. And I've been coaching people this week who are telling me about their challenges this week, right? Like Thanksgiving is arguably one of the hardest days for people to continue eating the way they have been eating. They've been getting results. And very often, in fact, today someone said to me, well, Thanksgiving's going to be a challenge. And to me, that's like, I don't trust my training, right? Like there's so many ways to think about, okay, this thing is coming up. Like every time you stand on the starting block for a race, like you're thinking like, I'm going to, in some sense, like this is a challenge, but you don't mean it like, well, this is going to be a challenge. Right.
yeah,
Except
exactly.
what race number 5, right?
Yeah.
Where you started having that thought that like the word challenge starts to take on this negative connotation, like a thing harder than it really needs to be.
Yeah, and I noticed with that race, like just like how my body was feeling and just seeing like, just concentrating on the feeling versus like a feeling of, oh my gosh, I did all these really good races. Like even for instance, the Thanksgiving, like people are focusing on what they're not going to be able to do versus oh man, like, I've been doing this really great thing and I don't want to do that, but like the thoughts, like, they just like trickle in and it's a test, for us to be able to trust the training essentially and know that like these thoughts that are coming in, it's a test. And like for me, like I have been the butterfly has was always my favorite event, and so now that we're changing it, it's became like a scared thing for me. But today, because I've been doing all these things and learning my lessons, like I found like this loophole that like how I can like make my butterfly faster, and by understanding the lesson, like okay, maybe people need to have the Thanksgiving and fail. Remember like the conversation we had about the 15% failing,
Mm-hmm.
like maybe they need that failure so then they can be reminded of, oh man, if I just trusted my training, I would have been able to not do this. You know what I mean?
Right. Although the thing that happens in people's minds very often is, well, this is going to be a challenge, and some part of them capitulates. Some part of them gives up in advance. And so when you give up, you don't really learn that much. You learn a lot less than you could learn if you say, like, I'm going for this, and you fail. Like, then you've got, like, juicy data. Like, giving up is like, well, we didn't run the experiment. So all I learned was that when I don't run experiments, I don't learn anything. Right. So
Exactly.
then what we want people to do is to sort of take a little bite out of Thanksgiving. Like, I was working with someone who's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to take any leftovers home. Like, brilliant little
Yeah.
piece, right?
Mhm.
Somebody else could say, I'm not going to have seconds. I don't care how big the first plate is. I'm just not going to have seconds. Or someone else might say, I'm not going to have the turkey, right? Because all of those are going to bring up opportunities to grow and learn.
Exactly. Yeah, because I mean, it's important to test the experiment, but then it's also important to see the data, see what you learned from it, and then you can go into the next holiday or the next situation, like with all this, like, I guess, like these tools, right? That, like, oh man, I noticed that, like, I was able to do this. And so you, like, build your confidence muscle up a little more too. Like, okay, I was able to do that. And so now I can go into this and, have this like new sight of what I want to achieve here.
Right. And also to spend a little bit of time thinking about what is the nature of this particular challenge. So for you to go into a 1 mile race, not thinking about pacing yourself and stamina and the fact that it's 60 laps, that would have been disastrous if you hadn't like, okay, I understand what the nature of the challenge is. So for a lot of people, the nature of the challenge is social at Thanksgiving, right? And it's like, this is when all the people are going to be telling you, oh, doesn't this look good? Are you still doing that vegetarian thing? Right. And you're, you're going to have to sort of deal with other people and with your own impatience and your own whatever. For other people, the challenge will be, here are all these foods put in front of me that I've never said no to before. And yeah, I've been training, but I don't know. No, my training hasn't involved me sitting at a table full of yummy treats moaning at me. Right. So to just be aware, like, okay, here is the nature of this particular challenge. Here's how I prep myself. Right. It's like for any race you do, I'm sure you play it out in your head. Like, what am I going to do in second number 7 and second number 23? How am I going to approach the turn? Like, when I'm preparing for a 50K or a marathon, I set up a very clear plan that falls to hell, almost instantly, but it was still helpful.
Exactly. Well, now what's good is that I have a coach that has a plan for me, and then I'm holding myself accountable of trying to maintain the plan best that I can, because I know that I want to do it for myself, but I also want to show the coach that I can do it as well, which is nice when people have coaches and, they can like, oh, look what I've got to do, instead of being like, well, they don't want to show up on the call the next day like, oh, I did a thing, and it's like, why does it have to be like that? It could just be like, oh, I did this thing where, I chose that I wanted to do this, and what did you learn from it, and how can you move forward? But it's like you said, like, we say that it's going to be a challenge, we do it, and then we beat ourselves up because we knew it was going to be a challenge, but we did it anyway.
Right. So it's, the goal is always to win, right? To get to our goals, but the overriding goal in the moment is to be curious and gather data. Because if you're curious and you gather data, you don't have failures.
Exactly.
Right? You're like, oh, look what I learned.
Yeah, like that's what happened at this race for me. Like, normally I would have been like, I didn't even, like, that race came and gone, and it was just like, okay, here's the next one. And then I got to like apply something better, in the next moment, versus like continuing staying there, which was a good lesson for me, because I have done that as well throughout my journey of just sticking with the stuff I don't like, staying there for a little bit and beating myself up, and then it's like, this isn't helping me. Like, now I can like move from this and I can see what else there is for me, and everyone can do it at the Thanksgiving table.
Right on. All right. Well, speaking of Thanksgiving, we're hitting the road tomorrow, so I want to wrap up and get all my other stuff done. It was a pleasure as always to
see you in the next now.
The next now. Have a great time. Say hi to Laura and everybody.
I will. See ya.
Bye.